Imagine walking into a community where women don't wear clothes, not because they are forced to, but because it's part of their culture, identity, and way of life. In many parts of the world, clothing is a symbol of status, modesty, or personal style. But what if those rules didn't exist? What if going without clothes was completely normal, even respected? Today, we're diving into tribal societies and indigenous cultures where women live with minimal or no clothing. But here's the real shocker. In some of these communities, covering up is actually seen as offensive. Stick around, because what you're about to learn may challenge everything you thought you knew about clothing, culture, and tradition. Why some cultures don't wear clothes. 1. The power of climate and survival. One of the main reasons why many indigenous communities wear minimal clothing isn't about culture. It's about survival. Hot and humid environments like the Amazon rainforest, Central Africa, and Pacific Islands make wearing clothes uncomfortable and even dangerous. In extreme heat, wearing thick fabrics can cause overheating, skin infections, and discomfort. So many communities opt for light coverings or none at all. Some cultures have developed natural body protection, such as using plant-based oils, animal fat, or ochre to protect their skin instead of wearing clothing. For example, the Himba people of Namibia use a red ochre paste called ajais to protect their skin from the sun instead of wearing full clothing. The Yanomami of the Amazon use body paint and feather ornaments rather than fabric, as it helps regulate body temperature and provide spiritual protection. But survival is just one part of the story. Let's explore the deeper cultural meanings behind these traditions. Clothing is a symbol of culture and identity in many indigenous cultures. Nudity isn't about modesty. It's about tradition, social status, and even spirituality. Here are some of the most fascinating examples. The Himba women of Namibia. These semi-nomadic people live in the desert and have unique customs, including women not wearing upper body coverings. Instead, they cover themselves in ochre clay, symbolizing beauty, fertility, and protection. The Korowai of Papua, Indonesia. Men wear traditional penis gourds, while women wear grass skirts or nothing at all. Clothing in this tribe is seen as unnecessary due to their isolated rainforest lifestyle. The indigenous tribes of the Amazon, Yanomami, Matses, Awa. These tribes live deep in the Amazon jungle, where minimal clothing is the norm. Women often wear skirts made from palm fibers or go without them, relying on body paint and tattoos to express identity. The San people of the Kalahari Desert, known as one of the oldest cultures in the world. The San people have lived for thousands of years wearing minimal clothing, mostly consisting of animal skins and beads. For these communities, clothing, or the lack of it, isn't about modesty. It's about tradition. Dressing like their ancestors is a way to preserve their heritage. Spiritual beliefs. Some believe clothing interferes with their connection to nature. Social roles. Some women remain bare-chested to indicate their unmarried status or fertility. But there's an even bigger question. What happens when modern influences try to change these traditions? Modernization versus tradition. How the world is changing in recent years. Many of these clothing-free cultures have faced challenges. Tourism and globalization. As more tourists visit these remote areas, some tribes feel pressured to adopt Western clothing to fit societal expectations. In some cases, local governments encourage wearing modern clothes to attract tourists, which threatens their traditional way of life. Religious and missionary influence. In some parts of Africa, South America, and the Pacific, Christian and Islamic missionaries have introduced new ideas of modesty that discourage traditional clothing-free lifestyles. Some tribes have been forced to abandon their customs, seeing them as uncivilized by outside influences. Government regulations. Some countries have laws banning public nudity, even for indigenous tribes. In places like Brazil, Papua New Guinea, and parts of Africa, there have been legal battles over whether indigenous groups should be allowed to maintain their traditions. But here's the surprising part. Some tribal communities are actively fighting to keep their way of life alive. In Ethiopia's Omo Valley, some tribes have resisted wearing modern clothes, arguing that it would erase their identity. In the Amazon, leaders of indigenous communities are working to protect their traditions, teaching younger generations about the significance of body paint and traditional ornaments. So, what does this mean for the future of these clothing-free cultures? Clothing, choice, and freedom? What can we learn? At the end of the day, this isn't just a story about clothing. It's about freedom, choice, and cultural identity. Should modernization force change? Or should these communities be allowed to continue living as they have for centuries? Do these women see themselves as oppressed? Or are they simply following what has been natural to them for generations? Is our idea of modesty and fashion really universal, or just a reflection of Western norms? These are big questions, and the answers depend on how we choose to view tradition, progress, and cultural respect. But now, we want to hear from you. Final thoughts plus call to action. What do you think about these clothing-free cultures? Do you believe modernization should influence them, or should they be left to live as they have for centuries? Would you be able to live in a society where clothing wasn't a necessity? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found this video eye-opening, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more fascinating deep dives into unique cultures around the world, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.